The morning my girlfriend told me her friends were moving into my house rent-free, I didn't shout, argue, or slam a single door. I just smiled, nodded, and decided to end everything. I didn't know it then, but that quiet smile would be the start of the best revenge I'd ever take. My name's Ethan Miller, I'm 28, and until a few days ago, I thought I had my life figured out. I had a steady job in IT, a paid-off 3-bedroom home that my grandparents left me, and a girlfriend I thought I'd marry someday. Her name was Riley Adams, 26, the kind of woman who could walk into a room and make it feel like she owned it. When she moved in last year, it felt right. We didn't sign anything, no lease, no rent agreement, just love and trust. I covered everything, utilities, taxes, maintenance, insurance. Riley paid for her own car, her phone, and split groceries with me. That was it, and I was fine with it. I told myself I was investing in our future. I had no idea that to her, I was just an open wallet with a heartbeat. It was a Saturday morning when it all started. I was half awake, making coffee, watching the sunlight stretch across the kitchen floor. Riley came in wearing one of my shirts, scrolling through her phone with that distracted look she always had when she was about to drop something on me. "Hey," she said casually, like she was telling me about a new brunch spot. "Good news, Brooke and Tessa are moving in." I stopped pouring the coffee midstream. "Moving in?" She looked up, annoyed like I was being slow. "Yeah, their lease is up at the end of the month. It's perfect timing." "Moving in here?" "Obviously," she said, like I'd asked if water was wet. "They'll take the 2 spare rooms. We'll just need to grab a couple of beds for them. They don't have much money right now, so they'll stay rent-free until they get back on their feet." The only sound in the room was the coffee maker sputtering out the last few drops. Rent-free. For a while. I already knew how this movie would end. I put the mug down and looked at her. "Riley, you can't just decide that. This is my house." She sighed, rolling her eyes like I was a stubborn child. "Ethan, don't be like that. It's a big house. You have the space. They're my best friends. They're basically family. You wouldn't kick out family, would you?" "They're not my family," I said quietly. "Well, you won't even notice them. They'll help around the house, and we'll have so much fun, like a permanent sleepover. Where are we supposed to sleep?" She smiled, and that smile, that smug, bright, dismissive smile, told me she thought she had it all figured out. "Well, Brooke and Tessa can have the master bedroom since there are 2 of them, and it's got the bigger bathroom. I'll take one of the guest rooms. You can have the other one. Or," she tilted her head, her tone suddenly light and patronizing, "you could just sleep on the couch for a bit. It's comfy." I froze. My couch. In my house. The house my grandparents left me. The house I paid for, cleaned, fixed, and loved. You can sleep on the couch. It wasn't even a suggestion. It was an order dressed as compromise. Something in me shut off. Not anger, clarity. Cold, sharp, and absolute. Every time I'd ignored a red flag, every time I'd let her get away with treating me like a supporting character in her story, it all hit me at once. I smiled, a small, calm, final smile. "Okay." Her whole face lit up. "Really? Oh my God, I knew you'd understand. This is going to be so much fun." She kissed my cheek, grabbed her purse, and said, "I'm meeting the girls for brunch to tell them the good news. We'll start moving their stuff later today. Love you." She walked out the door like nothing had happened. I stood there in silence for maybe 30 seconds, then looked out the window as her white SUV disappeared down the street. The moment it did, I pulled out my phone. "Hi, yes. Is this Rapid Lock Locksmith? I need all my locks changed today. Emergency service." The guy said he could be there in 30 minutes. Perfect. Next call, a moving and packing service. I told him I needed all of a tenant's belongings packed up and stored safely. I paid for a 3-month storage unit up front. By the time the locksmith's been pulled into my driveway, I was already gathering Riley's things. I wasn't reckless. I wasn't cruel. I was methodical. Her clothes, her makeup, her candles, every last hair tie, all of it went neatly into piles. When the packers arrived, they didn't ask questions. They boxed everything. The framed photos, the furniture she brought, even the half-empty perfume bottles. By 2 p.m., there was no trace of her in my house. The movers left with her boxes, and I taped the storage unit receipt and key in a clear plastic bag right on the front door. Then I cleaned every room, every surface. I scrubbed the kitchen counters until they shined. I vacuumed. I opened all the windows and let the air flow through. The house felt lighter, like it was breathing again. I sat on the couch, my couch, and waited. It didn't take long. Around 4 in the afternoon, my phone buzzed. Riley, hey, the key isn't working. Did you lock the deadbolt? I didn't answer. 5 minutes later, she called. I let it go to voicemail. Her tone was sharp, annoyed. Ethan, I'm outside with Brooke and Tessa. We got a car full of stuff. What's going on? Call me back. Then came the text. Riley, Ethan, this isn't funny. Open the door. Riley, are you home? Riley, the girls are getting pissed. Riley, we're supposed to be moving in today. The calls started rolling in, unknown numbers, then Brooke, then Tessa. I silenced my phone and kept reading my book. By 6 p.m., the tone changed from irritation to panic. Riley, what did you do? There's a U-Haul receipt taped to the door. A storage unit? Are you kidding me? And then the real fireworks began. They called nonstop, left voicemails filled with screaming, crying, threats, guilt trips. I didn't respond to any of it. I sat there with a calmness I hadn't felt in months. By the next morning, I woke up to 50 missed calls and a wall of text messages. Apparently, after realizing they weren't getting inside, they drove back to their old apartment, which they'd already vacated, and spent the night sleeping in the U-Haul. I made myself breakfast. Bacon, eggs, toast, the works. When her name flashed on my phone again, I finally answered. Ethan, she screamed. You psycho. You threw me out. You threw all my stuff out. I didn't throw anything out, I said calmly. Your things are in a climate-controlled storage unit. The key and address were taped to the front door. You can't just kick me out. We live together. I live here. You were a guest, I said. A guest who decided to move 2 other people in and relegate me to the couch. I just declined your new terms. There was a pause. Then another voice cut in. It was Brooke. Listen here, you little prick. You can't do this to her. We have rights. I smiled to myself. What rights are those exactly? The right to live in my house for free? We're going to sue you for illegal eviction. Great, I said. Tell your lawyer that your friend who paid no rent and has 0 paperwork attached to this property was politely asked to leave. Let me know how that goes. In the background, Tessa was shouting something about me being a monster. Then Riley was back, sobbing. I can't believe you did this. I have nowhere to go. My friends have nowhere to go. That sounds like a problem for the 3 of you to solve together. I said, you seemed confident enough in your plan yesterday morning. But I love you, she whispered. No, I said softly. You love what I provided. That's not the same thing. I hung up. She kept trying to call for hours. I didn't answer again. A few of our mutual friends texted me, asking what happened. I sent them one screenshot. Riley's message where she said her friends were moving in and I could sleep on the couch. Most of them didn't reply after that. The few that did just sent some variation of, damn. By that night, I sat alone in my clean, quiet house, reading again. For the first time in months, it felt like home. The silence wasn't empty anymore. It was peaceful. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Because people like Riley, people who think the world owes them a comfort they didn't earn, they don't take humiliation well. They come back. And when she did, I'd be ready. I thought the silence in my house would last. It didn't. 3 days after I changed the locks, my doorbell rang while I was working from home. I glanced at my security camera feed. There they were. Riley stood on my porch, makeup running, eyes red. Behind her were Brooke and Tessa, arms crossed like bodyguards. I didn't even bother opening the door. Ethan, Riley called, voice trembling. Please, I just want to talk. I just want to get my things. I pressed the intercom. Your things are in storage. I gave you the key. There's stuff missing, she said, her voice snapping from soft to sharp. My grandmother's locket. You probably stole it. I almost laughed. Of course. When you can't win the argument, invent a crime. I didn't touch your jewelry. I said evenly. The Packers were professionals. Everything was inventoried. Check the storage box labeled vanity. It's all there. Brooke leaned toward the camera. Open the door, coward. Let her look for herself. No, I said simply. This is my property. You're not welcome here. Tessa stepped forward and rattled the handle hard. Open the damn door or we'll call the cops. We'll tell them you're holding her stuff hostage. I sighed. Go ahead. I'd love to explain this to them. Riley glared at the camera for a long second before turning away. They huddled near the car, whispering, then stormed off. I thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. The next afternoon, my doorbell rang again. This time, 2 police officers stood there. My stomach dropped, not from guilt, but from dread. False accusations have a way of twisting reality. Mr. Miller? One asked politely. We got a call from a concerned friend. Said you've been unstable after a breakup and might hurt yourself. I exhaled slowly. So that was their next move. Come on in, I said. I showed them everything. The text where Riley told me her friends were moving in rent-free, the screenshots of her demanding I sleep on the couch, the camera footage of her friends trying the door and kicking it. I told them about the storage unit and showed them the receipt. One officer scrolled through the evidence on my phone, then looked at me. So, she tried to move her friends and without permission. You said no. And now she's claiming you're unstable? Pretty much. He nodded, unimpressed. All right. You seem fine to me, Mr. Miller. Sorry to bother you. They left. I closed the door and sat back on my couch, staring at the blank TV screen. That was the first real taste of anger. Not the cold, clean kind that drives you to action, the kind that burns under your ribs. They tried to weaponize empathy, tried to make me the villain, but they weren't done yet. The next phase hit online. At first, it was subtle. Riley's friend Tessa posted an Instagram story, a black and white photo of Riley crying, caption, "When someone shows their true colors, believe them." Then Brooke added, "Watching my best friend get destroyed by a manipulative narcissist hurts. Protect women." They never said my name, but everyone in our small circle knew exactly who they were talking about. Riley followed up the next day with a long Facebook post. Sometimes you think you know someone until they turn cold overnight. I trusted him with everything, and he locked me out of the home we built together. I have nowhere to go. I just wanted kindness. The comments section was a mix of sympathy and outrage. Old college friends of hers chimed in. Strangers sent heart emojis. Someone even commented, "You can stay with me, girl. No one deserves that." I stared at it for a long time. My chest tightened, not with sadness, but with disgust. The truth didn't matter to them. The story did, and she was good at stories. Within days, the narrative spread through mutual friends. I started getting texts. "Hey man, what happened? Riley's saying you kicked her out for no reason. Bro, did you really throw her stuff away?" I sent each of them the same screenshot. Her original message about her friends moving in and me sleeping on the couch. Most stopped replying. A few said, "Jesus, man, that's messed up. That should have been enough." But for Riley and her friends, attention was oxygen, and I had just cut off their supply. So they escalated. They started tagging vague posts about toxic men and emotional abuse on Twitter. Brooke went live on TikTok, telling a dramatic version of events where her friend's boyfriend locked her out in the cold with nowhere to go. Her tears looked almost rehearsed. Thousands of strangers commented hearts and angry emojis. I didn't respond. I didn't post. I didn't defend myself publicly. Instead, I documented everything. Screenshots, timestamps, comments, usernames. I created folders on my desktop. Riley, Brooke, Tessa. I even downloaded their videos before they could delete them. They thought they were winning because I stayed quiet. They didn't understand. Silence doesn't mean defeat. Sometimes it's just the sound of patience sharpening its blade. 2 days later, I got another knock at the door. This time it wasn't cops. It was a delivery guy holding 2 pizzas I hadn't ordered. Then a few hours later, another one. The next day, 3 Amazon packages arrived with my address and fake names. Pranks. Petty harassment. At night, I saw headlights pause outside my house longer than usual. Once, I caught Brooke's car idling at the curb before speeding off. They wanted me rattled. Instead, I started planning. If they wanted to play games online, fine. The internet cuts both ways. I knew where Riley worked, a mid-sized marketing firm that bragged about corporate ethics and trust-driven branding. Her LinkedIn was full of buzzwords about authenticity. I also knew Brooke was a freelance designer who depended on clients finding her through social media. And Tessa was trying to become a lifestyle influencer, tagging every brand she could in hopes of free products. They'd built their entire identities on image, and they were about to learn what happens when the truth starts leaking through cracks in the facade. I spent that weekend gathering everything. Not angry messages, not insults, just receipts. Verifiable, time-stamped truth. Riley's text about her friends moving in. Her voice message telling me I'd barely even need a room. Her posts implying abuse. Their comments mocking me. The police report listing their welfare call as unfounded. The doorbell footage of Tessa kicking my door. I labeled it the reckoning. Then I waited, because timing, I've learned, is everything in revenge. Too soon and it looks reactive. Too late and people stop caring. I waited exactly 1 week. Long enough for Riley to grow confident that she'd won the public sympathy vote. That Monday morning, she posted a photo with a caption, "Healing, finally choosing myself." Hundreds of likes, dozens of comments. I smiled, opened my laptop, and started drafting an email, but not to her, to her boss. That, though, is another part of the story, the part where quiet revenge turned surgical. Before I sent it, though, something happened that made me certain I was doing the right thing. That night, my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. It was one of Riley's old co-workers, someone I'd met once at a company dinner. "Hey, Ethan," she said nervously. "I probably shouldn't be calling, but I thought you should know. Riley's been telling people at work that you were emotionally abusive. She's using it to get sympathy time off. Just watch your back." I thanked her and hung up. Then I sat in the dark for a long time, the glow of my laptop screen reflecting off the coffee mug beside me. They hadn't just tried to ruin my name online. They were now dragging it into her workplace. That was the moment I stopped feeling like a victim and started feeling like an architect. I wasn't going to shout. I wasn't going to threaten. I was going to dismantle their lives one email at a time, calmly, professionally, permanently. By the time I was done, Riley and her friends wouldn't just regret what they'd done. They'd understand it. They'd learn that the worst kind of revenge isn't loud or violent. It's administrative. And it was coming. The silence after the storm was eerie. For a few days, Ethan's phone barely buzzed. No calls, no texts. He almost started to believe they had finally given up, until Tuesday afternoon when the doorbell rang. He checked the camera feed. Riley stood outside, sunglasses hiding her puffy eyes, her 2 friends, Amber and Brooke, behind her like backup dancers for a bad idea. Ethan pressed the intercom button. "Can I help you?" Riley's voice trembled. "Ethan, please. I just need to grab some of my things. You packed everything up too fast. Some things were personal." Ethan sighed. "Your things are in storage. The key and address were taped to the door. You already know that." Amber stepped forward, shoving her face into the camera. "You stole her jewelry, dude. We know it." Ethan leaned back in his chair, almost laughing. "You really think I'd risk catching a theft charge over a locket?" Brooke started pounding on the door. "You can't do this. We'll call the cops." "Please do," Ethan said flatly. "I'd love to explain everything to them." They left after 10 minutes of yelling and one angry kick that scuffed the bottom of his door. Ethan smiled. It was such a small, petty gesture, the kind of thing people do when they know they've already lost. But they weren't done. The next morning, Ethan woke to 2 police officers at his front door. His stomach dropped for a second, until one of them said, "We got a call from a friend concerned about your well-being. Something about a bad breakup." Ethan let out a low laugh. "You got to be kidding me." He invited them in, calm and collected, showing the messages from Riley about her friends moving in rent-free, the storage receipt, and even the doorbell footage of them yelling at him. The cops exchanged looks. "So let me get this straight." One officer said, "Your ex tried to move her friends in without permission. You said no, and now they're harassing you?" Ethan nodded. The officer sighed. "Yeah, sounds like someone abusing the system. You're fine, sir. Have a good day." When they left, Ethan leaned against the door and exhaled slowly. They were trying to weaponize pity, to twist the story. It was pathetic, but the real attack came online. Within 24 hours, Riley's friends had started posting cryptic garbage all over Instagram and Facebook who they were talking about. Friends texted him, "Hey, man, what happened?" Ethan sent one screenshot in reply. Riley's text, "My friends are moving in. You can sleep on the couch." No further explanation. The silence that followed was delicious. But watching their smear campaign grow day after day burned something inside him. Not rage, something colder. Precision. He started documenting everything. Every post, every comment, every like. He downloaded the doorbell footage, the police report, the text threads. He didn't shout online. He didn't respond. He just built his case like an engineer designing a quiet detonation. Riley worked in marketing for a trendy tech company obsessed with ethics and brand trust. Her LinkedIn was full of words like integrity and authenticity. Amber freelanced for small design firms, and Brooke, she was trying to be an influencer, tagging every brand she could get her hands on, begging for sponsorships. They thought the internet was their weapon. Ethan was about to show them it could be their downfall. He crafted one simple, surgical plan. He opened his laptop, compiled everything into neat folders. Screenshots of Riley's messages proving her entitlement. Every defamatory post. The police report from their fake welfare call. The doorbell video of them screaming outside his door. Then he wrote an email. Calm, polite, devastating. Subject: a matter of professional integrity regarding your employee, Riley Hayes. He addressed it to the head of HR at her company. Dear Ms. Collins, I understand that personal matters are often separate from professional ones, but I feel obligated to inform you about a situation involving one of your marketing employees, Riley Hayes. Recently, Ms. Hayes and her friends launched a public smear campaign against me online, making false claims after she attempted to move multiple people into my privately owned home rent-free. I've attached a documented timeline, including screenshots, a police report, and video evidence. Given your company's emphasis on authenticity and integrity, I thought this situation might warrant review. Sincerely, Ethan Cole. He attached everything, hit send, and sat back. Then he sent 2 more emails, one to Amber's old apartment management company, who he found through her old tag posts, warning them about her attempted squatting, and one to the small businesses Brooke had tagged in her posts, letting them know the kind of creator, using their name. It was quiet revenge. No yelling, no drama, just truth placed carefully in the right inboxes. And then he waited. 3 weeks passed. The posts slowed down. One by one, they disappeared. Then word spread through mutuals. Riley had been put on administrative leave. A month later, someone texted him, "Dude, Riley got fired." They said it was for violating the company's social media policy. Ethan didn't reply. He just smiled, shut off his phone, and poured himself a drink. Amber and Brooke's lives followed the same pattern. They found themselves blacklisted from several property management companies. No one wanted tenants known for harassment. Brooke's influencer dreams crumbled too. Her sponsorship tags vanished, and her accounts went private. Teased slowly, then got up, opened Craigslist, and listed for sale. Ethan didn't gloat. He didn't even post. He simply existed, in peace, surrounded by quiet. The same silence that used to feel lonely now felt like victory. That night, he sat on the same couch Riley once told him he could sleep on. He ran his hand across it slowly, then got up, opened Craigslist, and listed for sale. A week later, it was gone, replaced with a sleek new one. The house was lighter, brighter. His again. Ethan didn't feel joy. Not exactly. What he felt was something cleaner, the kind of peace that comes when you stop letting people walk over you. He walked into the guest room, now redecorated, and smiled. The ghost of that old conversation echoed faintly in his mind. You can sleep on the couch. He almost laughed. Not anymore. Months rolled by. Winter came early that year, the kind of cold that freezes silence into the air. Ethan didn't mind. He liked quiet now. It reminded him of peace, of control, of the moment everything shifted in his favor. By December, life had gone back to normal. Work was smooth, the house was calm, and for the first time in years, he slept without that heavy weight on his chest. The chaos Riley brought into his life had burned out completely, replaced by something cleaner. Then one night, while scrolling through LinkedIn, Ethan saw a familiar name in the People You May Know section. Riley Hayes, freelance consultant. He clicked. Her profile looked desperate. No company listed, no banner, no confidence. Just a vague description. Former marketing professional seeking new opportunities. He almost laughed. Scrolling down, he saw one of her old coworkers had commented on a post. Hate seeing talented people throw away good careers over personal drama. Ethan stared at the comment for a while, then closed the tab. He didn't feel anger, just distance. But revenge is a strange echo. It doesn't stop when the target falls. It lingers, reshaping everything. 3 weeks later, he got an email from a journalist, some small online magazine that focused on workplace ethics. The message was short. Hi, Ethan. We're running a story about social media accountability and came across a corporate record involving your ex, Riley Hayes. Would you be open to a brief anonymous interview about what happened? Ethan thought about it. Then he replied simply, no need. The truth already did what it needed to. He hit send and closed the laptop. He wasn't interested in fame or pity. His story wasn't about destruction anymore. It was about freedom. A few months later, Ethan moved to a new house across town. Smaller, quieter, but completely his. No ghosts, no memories. He furnished it himself, every piece carefully chosen. The couch, a new gray sectional. Sat in the center of the living room, untouched by anyone else's shadow. Sometimes, late at night, he'd pour a drink, sit there, and scroll through a saved folder, the one labeled closure. Inside were the screenshots, the videos, the emails, the entire record of how he dismantled a 3-person smear campaign without raising his voice once. He never deleted it, not out of spite, but as a reminder that people like Riley, Amber, and Brooke didn't ruin him. They revealed him. Because real revenge isn't about shouting louder. It's about standing taller after everyone else falls silent. One evening in spring, Ethan stopped by a coffee shop near his new place. He was waiting in line when he heard a voice behind him, quiet, nervous, but familiar. Ethan. He turned. Riley stood there. Her hair was shorter, her clothes simple, her eyes tired in a way he'd never seen before. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Riley whispered, I heard you moved. You look good. Ethan nodded once. I am good. She hesitated. Listen, about everything that happened. He cut her off gently. Don't. You don't owe me anything. And I don't need to hear it. Riley looked down, biting her lip. I lost a lot, you know. I know, he said. So did I. The difference is I rebuilt mine. She flinched. He didn't say it cruelly, just truthfully. The barista called his name. He grabbed his drink, turned back, and offered her a small nod. Take care, Riley. Then he walked out, calm, composed, unshaken. As the door closed behind him, he felt something rare. Not victory, not triumph, just closure. Outside, the city lights flickered against the glass buildings. For the first time in a long time, Ethan didn't feel like he was looking back at the wreckage of his life. He was walking towards something new. He deleted the closure folder that night. Every screenshot, every email, gone. Because the best revenge isn't the one that destroys them. It's the one that sets you free. Ethan poured another drink, stepped out onto his balcony, and looked out at the sleeping city. The night air was cool, quiet, peaceful. He smiled. The kind of quiet, satisfied smile that comes when you know no one will ever take advantage of you again. Then, softly to himself, he said, "You can sleep on the couch." And he laughed, not bitterly, but freely. This time, the joke was his. And with that, our story comes to an end. But the real story begins with your thoughts. What would you do if you were in this situation? Let me know in the comments.